Welcome to the. As your Toastmaster, I am pretty much in control of the meeting, and I will be making sure that all speeches and all roles run smoothly. Without further ado, I would like to call on the grammarian Emma to explain her role to us.
Hello everyone, my name is Emma and today I'll be your grammarian. I will be listening for filler words including well, so, like, but, repeat, and repeats. I will also see if the word of the day is used. The word of the day is mellifluous, which means sweet or musical, or basically pleasant to hear.
Thank you for that introduction, Toastmaster Emma. I would now like to call on our timer Tim to explain his role.
Thank you. As a timer, I will be timing all your speeches, table topics, and evaluations. For your speeches, they should be between 5 to 7 minutes long. And to show this, my background will become green to show that you have reached your time 5 minutes, yellow to show that you have reached your time of 6 minutes, and red to show you have reached your time of 7 minutes and you should start wrapping up your speech. For table topics, the time will be 1 to 2 minutes, and at 1 minute, I will have a green background. At 1 minute 30, I will have a yellow background, and at 2 minutes, I will have a red background. And similarly, for the evaluations, they should be between 2 to 3 minutes long. And the same thing, at 2 minutes, I'll have a green background. At 2 minutes 30, I'll have a yellow background, and at 3 minutes, I'll have a red background. And I will also be giving a timers report at the end of this meeting to tell everybody their times. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Adding on to the timer's role for our younger speakers, such as Jivit today, he will have a shortened time for a speech of 3 to 5 minutes. The colors apply the same as they would for the normal speeches. Without any hesitation, I would like to call on our first evaluator. Well, change of plans. I would like to call on Miss Anna to introduce our guest speaker, Mr.
Patrick Johnson.
Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Toastmaster and President Isaac Jefferson. Today we have a guest speaker, Patrick Johnson. Mr. Johnson is my coworker. I work in AutoZone. Patrick Johnson often hosts a group meeting, which has 200, 300 people. And we just love his meeting. He is humorous. His meeting is always fun, bring a lot of laughter. So today I brought him here to show us how to do a presentation with humor. Let's welcome Patrick Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. So are you actually going to count all my ums? Emma, I'm going to say a lot. I already know that I do, so it is, hopefully you're not counting that. And the word of the day, there's no way I'm going to get that in there. But what I am here to do today is to do, how many people have given a speech in front of school before? How do you feel when you do that?
Terrible.
Terrible. Do you feel nervous?
Yes.
Do you feel like everybody's thinking that you're messing? Do you think that you're messing up really bad? Yeah. So, So I'm nervous up here too as well. I don't know anybody other than Miss Anna. I do not know anybody up here, so I don't know. I really didn't know. I didn't even really know the age group that I was speaking to, and I'm speaking to probably about a second grader. I knew that because someone told me that earlier, all the way up to a high schooler. Mm-hmm. So when you get up to Isaac's age, 15, when you get up to high school, you're gonna probably start giving speeches in front of class. Especially if you go to college, you're going to give speeches a lot of the times. A lot of the times, one of the ways to, kind of get rid of some of those nerves are, trying to put humor in it. There's a few things though about humor though when you do it in a speech. The first thing about humor, it has to be appropriate. You need to know when you give a speech, or when you give a presentation. One of the main things about giving a speech or a presentation is you always have to remember there is a certain reason why you are giving that speech or that presentation. If you're at school, you're trying to get an A. You're trying to get a good grade. That's the purpose of it. If you're at work, you are trying to get a point across or trying to get someone to agree with you. If you're a newscaster, you might have to report something somber. You might have to report that a plane has crashed or something like that. So you need to make sure that you use humor in an appropriate way. That is it's one of the biggest things that I could say is it has to be appropriate. So when you get to work, when you get to college, especially, and this may be speaking a little bit more towards Isaac's age. In 2 to 3 years, he's probably getting up in front of a college professor, and he is saying, "Hey, I've got to give this presentation on no matter what the subject is." So you do have to. So one of the ways to, instead of getting up here and reading word for word from a PowerPoint slide, you might be trying to have that professor remember your speech by putting a little bit of humor in there. But here's some things you should not do. Number one, politics and religion should stay out of it. You might have a certain kind of politics. Your professor may have something completely different. So if you like a certain politician and you make a joke about that politician, but your professor doesn't like that politician, you're probably not going to get a good grade. Just so politics, religion, stay out of it. A second piece of advice is don't make fun of things or people for stuff that they can't control. Don't make fun of someone's race or gender or age. If you can't control how old you are, don't make fun of that. Those are things that stay off limits when giving humor. But when you do try to put humor in a presentation, some of the good ways to do it is, number one, try to know your audience. So if you are, Emma, what grade are you in? Seventh grade. So do you think that there are any Taylor Swift fans in your class? Yes. So if you're giving a speech in front of a seventh grade class, you might put something in there about a Taylor Swift. One thing that I would also say is when you do humor, don't be mean. Can you finish this lyric? Why do you got to be so rude or mean? So don't be mean to people. But if you wanted to put a joke in if you had to give a presentation on on anything in class, and you wanted all your classmates to pay attention to remember, if you know that you've got 8 to 10 Taylor Swift fans, if you put a little comment about Taylor Swift in there, they'll remember your speech and whatever you're trying to say in that speech. What is your name?
Eric.
Eric. So do you like sports?
Yes.
What's your favorite team? Or what's your favorite sport?
Probably like basketball.
You like basketball? So you like the Grizzlies? Mm-hmm. So if you put a joke in there, don't put a joke in there about John Morant shooting a gun. See? But I guess you could. But you'll remember that now. You probably won't remember anything else I say today, but you'll remember that's the old dude that brought up John Morant shooting the gun. But you can put in a joke about, or even an observation about basketball. What is your name?
Gibbet.
Gibbet. So what's your favorite toy? Or favorite book or favorite movie or favorite show?
Probably my favorite book is like Dogman.
Okay. What's your favorite TV show? Or do you? You like SpongeBob?
The movies.
The movies? Have you seen SpongeBob the movie?
Yeah.
So you could make a joke about SpongeBob. I mean, that's probably something that some of the other second graders would know. And what's your name? Deanna. And what is your favorite? Do you like Taylor Swift? Are you? Yeah. So you're at how old are you? You about third or fourth grade? Third grade? So you're about the same. My daughter's a couple of years older than you, but when she was your age, she loved Taylor Swift. So if your teacher told you to get up there and give a presentation on, do you know what state Taylor Swift's from?
West Virginia, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. So if you had to give a presentation about Pennsylvania, you could put something in there about Taylor Swift. You could say Pennsylvania and go through your presentation. And if you're talking about famous people, one of the things you could say is, it's the home of Taylor Swift. And I guarantee you everybody will remember that. It might not even have to be that funny, but just kind of getting those, trying to make your speeches a little bit more light. And I'm now getting the red symbol of death, so that means I need to, finish it up. But the main things is, get things in there that you understand. Be nice to people. Don't be rude. Don't make fun of people for things that they can't control. But also, don't be fake about it. So if you don't like Taylor Swift, don't put a bunch of people will see through that. But that's all I've got for right now.
Oh, okay.
I see the red thing, so I don't want to.
Tim, would it be okay not to time
Oh.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so Mr. Johnson, that's so great.
Yeah. So do y'all have any questions? Any questions about, humor or John Morant shooting a gun?
So that means, I have a question.
Yes.
That means you will have to do a lot of research trying to understand your audience, what they would think about the topic you are going to present, right?
Yes.
Trying to make a connection.
Yes. So the easiest one's probably Isaac, just because I know he will be the one that's doing those speeches, in a couple of years. So, Isaac, when he goes to class, and you better be going to class and not cutting college classes or high school classes. But when you go to class, you'll know some of the students around there. You'll know, hey, these students, they like this. So you do have to make those observations. You also have to know how your professor is. So if your professor comes across as someone if that professor makes jokes in class, you could probably get away with making a few in your presentation. If the professor is real stern, you might try one or two and kind of guess a reaction. Plan a couple, and if he doesn't react, just do your presentation. Any other questions? No, you don't want me to ask any more questions? Are you nervous about your speech today?
Not exactly. I already got it all written down.
You've already got it all written out? What's it going to be on?
Bible with the kid.
So you think you're going to do good?
I guess so.
But yeah, just be, it takes practice, and this is not even me. The more practice you get, the better you're going to be at it. As what Miss Anna said, when you give a speech, know your audience, but also know your audience, but know your supervisors. Know the purpose. The main thing is know the purpose of it. The meeting that Miss Anna was speaking about was, it's in front of 200, 300 people, and there's 300 people, and there's some people in there that are 22 years old. There's some people in there that are 70 years old. There's some people in there who make a little bit of money, and there's people in there who make more money than I've ever seen could ever imagine. So there is this wide range of people. So you've got all these different people, and the purpose of this meeting that she was speaking about is you're just trying to get information out to people. So if I saw you on your phone. So when you come up here, and if the person who's leading this meeting is really boring, you got 300 people on their phone, and I could just sit up there and do jumping jacks and no one would even notice. So you have to try to keep everything entertaining. So but if I was doing a presentation on philosophy in a college classroom, it's a little different. You have to kind of you kind of got to hit what the professor wants you to say. So but just know your audience, know the purpose, be respectful to others. You can if I don't know you, but I'm not going to come up here and make a joke about you if I don't know you. Now, if me and you were best friends and we've worked together for 25 years, I could probably make a joke that's not mean, but I can make a joke that's about you. But don't be rude. I know I'm repeating the same stuff, but those are the things that can get you in trouble, is being rude, and just there's certain topics you need to stay away from, religion and politics. Any other questions? What about my little Swifties over here? I could call you a Swiftie though, can't I? Or are you a Swiftie? Yeah. By two Swifties.
Anybody online has a question about using a humor in the speech? What kind of humor are appropriate, not appropriate? How to practice using the humor? Anybody has a question? Or now, Horace is the king of using a humor in speech himself.
I agree. I totally agree. Stay away from politics and religion.
Yeah.
But if you know how to weave it in there properly where it's not going to offend, then by all means.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely stay away from politics and religion. That's just two things that's nothing good's going to happen from it. I mean, if you're giving it maybe if you are being called to speak at, let's say, a MAGA meeting. I'm not ever going to get called to speak at a MAGA meeting. But if you get called to speak at a Donald Trump rally, yeah, you could probably make a politics joke. But unless you're doing that, stay away from the politics. Nothing good's going to happen from it. You're going to offend half the people there, and whatever message you're trying to get across, half the people are going to say, I'm not even listening to you anymore. Yeah. Thank you.
Before we continue, I'd just like to give one big round of applause to Mr. Patrick for coming out today and giving us that guest speech. Moving on, I would like to call on the evaluator 2, me, to evaluate Gibbet's speech on, what's your speech about? Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So please, wow us with your speech, Gibbet.
Today I would like to talk about Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It first starts in Greg's summer break last year. Greg happily got in gifted program. Once school starts again, he tries his best not to get in gifted program so he could get easier work. With his luck, he did not get in gifted program. In the PE unit, they started wrestling. Greg's class divided into two groups. One for the kids who weighed a lot and one for the kids who weighed less. Greg got put into the group who weighs less. He thought that is good because he does not have to wrestle kids like Benny Wolf who can bench press 250 pounds. But then he found out who he's supposed to wrestle, a kid named Fegley. Fegley was the only kid who weighs enough to be in Greg's group. Greg wanted to get out of Fegley's group, so he started stuffing his clothes with a bunch of socks and shirts. But he still was too light to go to the next weight group. Greg thought he might have to try to gain more weight by eating junk food. Then he realized he can gain his weight by building up muscles. The football unit was coming soon. His class gets divided into two groups. Greg always gets in the group with the kids who are out of shape. Greg thought that if he builds muscles, he can start winning in football. Greg tells his parents his idea. At first, his parents didn't say a word. Then his dad got excited. His dad said he can get a bench press for Christmas. Greg knows that Christmas is half a month away. He also knows that the football and wrestling would be over by the time Christmas comes. So he took matters into his own hand. He went to the fridge, found a milk and orange jug. He taped it to a broomstick and used it as a bottle. He invited his best friend Rowley over as a workout partner. He makes Rowley go first. Rowley did 5 reps and then he was ready to quit. But Greg did not let him. Greg said that's the good thing about training partners. They push you beyond your limits. Greg knew Rowley wasn't taking weightlifting as serious as him, so Greg did an experiment. He went and got his brother's phony nose and mustache. His brother Roderick had kept in his junk drawer. Greg leaned over to Rowley wearing the phony nose and mustache. Rowley laughed so hard he dropped the bottle on top of him. Rowley couldn't get the bottle back up, so Greg helped him. And the rest of the book is too long to write, so I'm ending here.
Thank you for that informative speech, Jivit. Now moving on to our table topics. We are doing what we like to call table topics roulette. And I'll explain to you how this works. So pretty much at the first of every month, we play table topics roulette, which is pretty much when I call on someone to ask a question, and whoever the person who I picks to answer the question has to answer that question and then call on another random person to ask and answer a question. So pretty much everyone gets a chance to speak, and each time it will be a different person. So I would like to call on Eric to ask the first question and to pick someone to answer. And once everyone has asked and answers a question, that'll be the end of this game.
What's the strangest dream you've had, Deanna?
Hold on just a second. Let's redo this. So as the tabletop master, you're gonna say, I will give a name and state the question, and I'm gonna pick somebody. That way, you set up a tone for your session.
And I think somebody already asked what was the weirdest dream you already had.
What?
Somebody already asked that question.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
So you're gonna
as you're
stay to a role, because if you don't, you're not setting the people to listen to you.
alright. So as the table topics master, I'll give a question to Deanna, and then she can answer it, and then give another question to someone else. So what's the weirdest dream you've had?
The weirdest dream I've had is probably, actually this was, last night I had a dream about, for some reason I decided to climb a mountain, a cliff, and then jump off of it. And somehow I survived. I did it over and over again. I still survived every time, and then I decided to climb Mount Everest.
What?
Somehow I made it to the top, I jumped off, and somehow I survived. But then I went on a rock climbing wall, I accidentally jumped off, but I didn't survive. And I don't know why. Thank you to the sisters.
The next table of the giver. You can say, now I would like to pick Isaac to give a table topic.
And she has to ask a question and then
Oh,
receive answers. Asking the questions.
oh, she has to ask a question. Okay. Sorry.
What is your favorite animal, Gibbet?
Well, if I would say my favorite animal, it would be a dog. Well, they're pretty fluffy, and there are like a million types of dog. But my favorite types is the dachshund, also known as the wiener dog. Most people call them wiener dogs because their bodies are long like a sausage. And well, they used to be fast until hunters used to catch them to use them to hunt prey. But the dogs were too fast, so the hunters somehow made them short, stubby little dogs who can only walk like, well, not they actually don't barely like. I'm not sure how they can how much they actually run, but I know it's like the same speed as a corgi. And I don't know, and I don't know question to ask. If you could have any type of pet made out of 4 different types of animals, what would it be? Emma?
If I could have a pet made of 4 animals, it would be a bird, a dog, a cat, and a fish. And hopefully, because something might go wrong, but I would hope it could have wings to fly, and it could behave like a dog because they're really friendly, but they could also have claws like a cat and gills like a fish. So my pet would be very powerful, and it could defend me but also play with me at the same time. And it would have fur on its body, but it would have feathers for the wings. Okay, so my question is, if you could resize any object in the world, what would it be, Miss Anna?
Thank you, Emma. So the question is, if I can resize any object in this world, what would it be? If I can ever resize the object of this world, I would want the impact. It is not visible, but the impact to be minimal. I would like the tornado to pass outside of the major cities, so we will have less impact to the majority of the people. And I want a hurricane to not land on the major cities in Florida. And that's most of the case, that is true. That is, the hurricanes will always pass the major cities and not make the major damage. I'm not saying that there's no damage to the major cities, but most likely it's passed. The cities, they survived. What I can say from that is that I probably will jump into a subject that is religious, which is a totally a no-no according to Patrick Johnson. But I just have to say that as a human being, even though we see the bad things happen from the nature, but the good things can also happen, which is most of us will survive, and that's the good thing. So if I want to resize the anything in this world, I want to minimize the impact from natural disaster. So that's my answer to that question. My next question would be, what's your favorite thing to do on a rainy day? Yesterday was raining, and when it wasn't pouring, me and my daughter went outside and played in the pot of water. We jumped and we got all wet, but that was a lot of fun. So I want to hear what's your favorite thing to do, or even a crazy thing to do on a rainy day. And that question goes to, you haven't gotten it yet. It goes to Eric.
So what's my favorite thing to do on like a rainy day? I would say my favorite thing to do on a rainy day is probably eat and play video games with my friends. So I'm not allowed to go outside and play sports or have a walk. So I'll just stay inside and then tell my friends to get on a game. And then we can play games together for a while because none of our parents have plans for us to do anything because of the rain. Or I'll like make some food and then take a very long nap after. I think it's a relaxing way to spend the rainy day while the rain is like making cool sounds, I guess. My question would be, would you rather only eat burgers and fries for the rest of your life or salads and smoothies for the rest of your life? That goes to Isaac.
Now, the question is, would I rather only eat salads and smoothies for the rest of my life or burgers and fries? And although burgers are my favorite food, just for the fact to prevent me from having a heart attack at 40, I'm going to have to go with salads and smoothies because I want to live a long and healthy life. And if I'm eating carbs for every meal, there's no way that's going to happen. Meanwhile, with salads, I can put whatever I want on them. At Chick-fil-A, which is the restaurant I work at, we could put fried chicken on our salads. So I can have a decent tasting meal and a good fruit smoothie and live a long, healthy life while having something good to eat at the same time. Which is why I would choose salads and smoothies. Added bonus to that is the variety of what I have to put on both foods. I could have any type of smoothie I want, whether it's apples, bananas. I can mix whatever fruits I want, and I can put whatever type of chicken or meat I want on my salad, and I can really enjoy it and customize it to my heart's content. Which is why I would choose salads and smoothies over burgers and fries. It pains me to say that because burgers are my favorite food. Now, my question is for Tim, and it is, what is the best candy of all time and why?
Thank you for the question. So your question was, what is the best candy of all time? This is a hard question because there's so much candy. To be honest, one candy that I used to enjoy was Nerd Clusters, but unfortunately, I have gotten sick of them over the years, which is kind of sad because they used to be really like my favorite. I used to get big bags of those and just share with my friends. But I think that maybe I'd like to go on to like gummies or something now. Preferably I like those. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot what they're called, but like the worm gummies. Wait, were they called trolleys? Something similar to that, but they're at Kroger and they're quite good because they have like sour, sweet, and then just sweet ones as well. But the flavors are really good. Great. So I would probably say gummies would be my favorite candy so far. And for the next question, I'll ask, say, uh, okay, if you could get rid of any subject in school forever, like erased from existence, which one would it be?
Did you say that question was for me?
Yes.
Okay. If I could get rid of any one subject in school, I would have to choose. This is a hard one, but I think my least favorite, which would be science. Not that science, the reason being is not that I don't like science, I love science, but out of all the subjects that I take, I like science the least, so that would be the one that I'd have to get rid of because languages are good to learn, different people's language, culture. If you travel or meet people from different parts of the world or speak different languages, language would be good to have. Learning English would help you improve on your base language that you were probably born and learned from birth. So English would help you with grammar, with writing, and if you live in America, majority of the time you're going to be using English. Another thing would be history. You're going to keep that because if you was saying if you forget history, you're bound to repeat it again. I believe that's how it goes. And by the government, obviously you'd have to be able to learn about your government system and things about how it works. So overall, I mean, it's not that science is a bad subject, more like out of all the other ones that there are, I'd rather have science be the one to not exist anymore over the other ones. Thanks for the question. Next, I would like to ask if you could go back to your younger days and choose to play any sport and maybe go professional in it, which sport would you choose? I'll give that to Mr. Horace Taylor.
Thank you for the question. If I could go back to my younger days and pick a sport, what sport would it be? It would be football and basketball. And here's why. It's the same reason for both sports. I'm left-handed. And being that I'm left-handed, I have had to learn to do most everything as though I was right-handed. Take, for instance, playing a guitar. I play the guitar as though I was a right-handed person. If I turn it downside up, I'm lost. I'm completely lost. But yet, when I go to the basketball court or on the football court field, everything is back on my dominant side, the left side. And I'm unstoppable when it comes to basketball and or football. So I think if I had to choose now between basketball or football, I think I would choose football because I don't want to be playing basketball when there's obviously too many footballs out there to throw. Thank you. And my question, if you were a comedian, would you please tell us or tell me your first joke? If you were a comedian, would you please tell us or tell me your first joke? Now, who should I call on to ask that question? I only see 4 people. That's it? That's everybody in the room today?
6.
But you can throw back to Xavier too.
Okay, Xavier. Ah, I say again, the question is, if you were a comedian, could you please tell us your first joke or any joke?
If I were a comedian, what would be my first joke? Well, as somebody who's not a big joker, that's a strong, hard question for me. So I think I'd go back to something simple, one that everybody has heard, old, young, middle aged, everybody in between. It would be, why did the chicken cross the road? A classic. Now, I'm sure everybody that's heard the joke before would probably say, to get to the other side, or a variation of that. But then, me, since I would be a comedian, I'd find a way to twist around the answer and choose something different. Like, why did the chicken cross the road? Because it could not fly, or something. Say, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to get it, but thank you for the question. I'm not. Thank you for the question. Sorry.
All right, this concludes our table topics game. I would now, moving on, like to call on our first evaluator, Eric, to evaluate our guest speaker's, Mr. Patrick's speech.
Well, he's not here, but we all can learn from your evaluation.
So Mr. Patrick Johnson gave us a good speech. He started off with a question and then gave us do's and don'ts for what to say and what not to say in our speeches. He included stuff like making humor and making sure it's appropriate, not talking about certain things like religion and stuff, and don't make jokes about things that people can't control. He had a good body language and he used his hands a lot and engaged with the audience. He gave us a very informing and useful speech, and then it was a good speech that we could all learn from. Thank you.
Thank you for that evaluation, Eric. I would now like to call on the second evaluator, me, to evaluate Gibbet's speech on Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Now, Diary of a Wimpy Kid was one of my favorite book series when I was younger, and it really filled me with joy to have it be brought back up again. I really liked the speech. I believe you were covering the first book, and I really enjoyed it. It was entertaining to listen to. However, I do feel like you could have had much better eye contact and body language, specifically because you were looking at the book majority of the speech. I feel like if you had note cards and wrote down points that you wanted to share with the audience and then just shuffled between those while walking around, making hand gestures at certain points and just engaging with the audience a little more, I feel like it could have been a lot better in that term. I also believe that you had a soft kind of voice. Now, your voice was clear, but I felt like your volume could have been a little higher to so that everyone could hear your points. And I definitely feel like that you will grow as a speaker, but I feel like if you get those points down, specifically with your body language and with how clear you spoke, you would be a much better speaker. Overall, great speech, and I really hope to hear from you more. Thank you. Almost forgot I was Toastmaster for a second. I would now like to call on our general evaluator, Emma, to give us the general evaluation of the meeting.
Overall, today's meeting ran really fast, but that's probably because we were missing people. And I noticed we were missing the
Agenda.
Agenda.
Good point. Emma, I'm glad you brought that up. Do we have some time do you want me to talk about it? Okay, thank you.
So, as you notice, there's no agenda set out for this week because the person who was supposed to send it for some reason couldn't do it. And I still don't know why, and I haven't gotten any communication from her. So you probably ask, can anybody else do it? Yes, we could have. The other officers could have. But the point is, she hasn't really told anybody she couldn't do it so that other people can step up. Can I do it? Yes, I can. But because we have officers, I'd rather not to step in and do it all by myself, right? This club is run by youth, by you guys, so y'all would have got this resolved. But I don't want to say this is a bad thing to happen. I think this is a good thing to happen so that we can all learn from this incident. As a club, we need to be accountable. Everyone needs to be accountable, especially if you're an officer. Every officer needs to be accountable. We need to have a good communication. If somebody cannot do the work, other people need to step in. Okay? So later, Jivith, Diana, if one day you become officer, keep that in mind. Certain time, agenda needs to come out. Certain time, the meeting recap needs to come out. Certain time, the recording needs to be loaded to YouTube. Those are the most important thing. Without those, the club cannot survive. Nobody will come to the meeting. It's poorly managed. Nobody will come. So I want to point out, I would not hesitate to fire that person if he cannot do the job, because we need good people to take care of the club. This is for the survival of the club. If the club not doing a good quality meeting, nobody will come. We all have no place to practice speech. All right. So I just want everybody to know, even though we're a group, everybody has a responsibility. If no agenda comes out, I hope somebody will step in. Can I do the agenda? Y'all have access to the sign-up sheet. Y'all know who will be the top Toastmaster, who will be each role. It's just a matter of make the sheet and send it to the group. Okay, everybody can do it. All right. I hope this will never happen again. And I have to tell you, and I want to tell you, I will communicate with our VP Education, and so that we understand her situation. But if it's necessary, she will be no longer in that position. We'll have to bring a capable person to that position. But we'll do a communication. We'll talk to her first to understand it. Okay, so that's what we will do. All right. I know I blah 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 for a long time, but this is I want to make sure everybody understands. We need to do the work. We do not just talk the talk. We need to walk the walk. So thank you so very much, and I'll bring the meeting back to our president, Isaac.
Thank you for that, Miss Anna. We really do need to bring awareness to the quality of our meetings. Continuing on, I would now like to bring up also the grammarian Emma to give us our grammarian report for the meeting.
In the beginning, for the evaluations introduction, Miss Anna had one and for the speech, Mr. Patrick had 18 one like, and 24 repeats. For the Isaac, for the evaluator's introduction, he had one and one like. For Jivith's speech, he had 7 repeats. And for the table topics, Deanna didn't have any filler words. Jivith had one well, and 1 like. Miss Anna had 3 us, 1 and 2 repeats. Isaac had no filler words. Tim had 3 us, 1 1 so, 4 likes, and 1 repeat. Xavier had 1 and 1 like. And for the evaluation for speech, forgot to say, Eric had 5 us and 1
Thank you for that timer's report, Toastmaster Emma. I would now like to thank you for that grammarian report, Toastmaster Emma. I would now like to call on the timer, Tim, to give us our timer's report.
Thank you. For the timer's report of this meeting, I'll start off with all the speeches, then table topics, and then evaluations. So first off, we had our guest speaker, Patrick Johnson, and I wasn't timing him after that, but he did go on for 13 minutes and 49 seconds, which was a great speech by him. And then next up, we had Jivith, who gave a speech about Diary of the Wimpy Kid, lasted for 3 minutes and 37 seconds, which is great. You were in the time limit. And then next up, we have our table topics roulette. And this one, we started off with Deanna with a time of 1 minute perfectly. Next up, we had Jivith with a time of 1 minute 8 seconds. Next, we had Emma with a time of 1 minute 15 seconds. Next, we had Miss Anna with a time of 1 minute 52 seconds. And then next, we had Eric with a time of 48 seconds. And then Isaac with a time of 1 minute 19 seconds. And then you had myself. Unfortunately, I might have started timing in the middle, but I think I was around 1 minute 12 seconds, I hope. And then next up, we had Xavier with 1 minute 42 seconds, and Mr. Horst Taylor with 1 minute 21 seconds. And lastly, back to Xavier again, you had a time of 1 minute 16 seconds. And lastly, for the evaluations, Eric, your evaluation lasted for 42 seconds, and Isaac, your evaluation lasted for 1 minute and 17 seconds. And that concludes my timer's report. Thank you.
Thank you for that timer's report. Overall, this meeting was a little bit rocky. We did start on time. However, we were unsure about our roles, and we did not have an agenda, but we were able to make it work, and we had an excellent guest speaker, and we were able to get through it. Now, before I close out this meeting, I would like to get all the roles for next week's meeting.